Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on Mobility Matters, a program designed to discuss a number of mobility and transportation topics. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the CITT, the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, and we want to thank our partners, community newspapers, for hosting us here at their studios and for helping to distribute this show via Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other channels. My guest today is a man who is near and dear to my heart, as he is a key figure here at the CITT, going back 20 years, back to its inception. Nestor Toledo. Nestor is the CITT's Municipal Program Administrator, and he's here to talk about all the wonderful things he's done at the CITT, talk about the 20 years of People's Transportation Plan, and then we'll get into Nestor's career and his legacy of public service. So, Nestor, thank you for being on the program.
Javier, thank you very much. Indeed, a pleasure to be on your show today.
Right.
And hopefully, I won't disappoint you.
No, not at all. And thank you for wearing a blue suit and white shirt. I think
Hey, we look
works
like
pretty good.
we look like the Blues Brothers.
With true Blues Brothers, because
With
they wore
true-
black, right? That was
They
always-
wore black.
Yeah,
Yes.
they missed that detail.
So it's more like a Blues grandfather and grandson, but
All in the family.
all in the family.
So, Nestor, tell us a bit about yourself, about your career, about your personal background.
Well, first of all, I'm very proud to say that this will be my 45th year in local government. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to work with a lot of fine people. I've worked years in the city of Miami. I started back in 1977 as an aide with then Mayor Maurice Ferre. Came to the county the first time in 1987. It was fortunate enough to work with both Sergio Pereira when he was manager and also with Dewey Knight, two excellent gentlemen who I consider, along with Maurice, mentors and people who really taught me the value of public service. And the second time I came back to the county was as chief of staff to Maurice Ferre, again when he was a commissioner back in '93. And the last time, now since 2002, I've had the honor and pleasure to work with the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, specifically the last 18, 19 years as the Municipal Liaison Program Administrator. And there I've had, quite frankly, a very nice run working with a lot of great people across Dade County. A lot of the municipalities, as you well know, Dade County is unique in that it has well over 30, at this point, 34 municipalities. And I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of great professional administrators and just great people in total.
Okay, so you are the administrator of the municipal program. You spoke briefly about the municipalities, but tell the viewers more about the programs. How does it work? How much funding do they get? What do they do with it? And what is your role in all of that?
Well, if you remember, Javier, and I'm sure you've spoken about this before in other meetings, when the voters of Dade County adopted the surtax back in 2002, as a matter of fact, we're coming up, and I'm sure you're going to be talking about it in the future, or we're going to come up on our 20th anniversary in November. And at that time, under the ordinance, 80% of the surtax was to go to Miami-Dade County for projects, and 20% was to go to the municipalities. With the addition of the three municipalities that were incorporated after the election, now the breakdown is about 77 to 23. Of those, the municipalities may spend up to 80% on transportation, or what we call public work projects, while a minimum of 20% was to spend on transit, on circulators, trolleys, things of that sort. The good news is, after all these years, most of the municipalities are spending a great majority of their funding that they get from the half-penny sales tax on transit projects and really providing a great amount of service to the citizens, not only of the residents of their specific municipality, but also all of Dade County, including visitors and things of that sort. So it's been, in my opinion at least, a very successful portion of the PTP, of the People's Transportation Plan, the overall program, which not only, again, going back, there's been great projects, and just a couple, to mention a couple, in the area of transportation and public works, municipalities like the city of Hialeah, for example, was able to use surtax funds to bond out and basically rebuild their entire municipal infrastructure on roadways. Same thing with Hialeah Gardens. They used, in a very inventive way, in a lot of these cases, they have used monies to the surtax, not only to pay for projects, but also to use as a leverage to get additional either federal funding,
right. A local match,
local match,
yeah,
to get state funding. Perfect example is the village of Key Biscayne. Anybody who's driven around Crandon Boulevard can see their centers that they used their surtax monies to get a $1 million grant at the time from the state of Florida, and were able to redevelop. So there's been a lot of projects that have come along, and again, they're not only the municipalities, but they have worked with Dade County and interlocal agreements with Dade County. One of them, it's close by here where we're at, in the city of South Miami, used it for their 72nd Street renovations. So
Right.
in that area, they'd be proud. But again, the part that I'm most proud of is what the municipalities have done with their transit monies. It's very difficult. One of the things that I tell people when I talk to them, in the 45 years that I've been in government, I've had the opportunity. I tell people I was there in the inaugural ride of Metro Rail back in 84. I was able to, at that time we went from the Dadeland station and only ended up at the Hialeah racetrack station.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was involved with the first inaugural Metro Mover.
Metro Mover, then expanded to
Then
Brickell.
expanded to Brickell, exactly. And now was at the point when we did the campaign for the half-penny sales tax, which, again, the voters adopted with 67% of the vote, which was overwhelming vote. It wasn't even close. So
Right.
the voters of the county and the residents of the county obviously recognized the need for us to go through that avenue, and part of that was the creation, and I'd like to talk about it later, of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, which has played an integral part in the in the pursuit and in the success of all these programs.
Yeah, so I think I failed to mention that in the beginning, but for those who don't know, the CITT, we are charged with overseeing the half-penny sales tax for transportation, making sure that the county and the municipalities spend those funds appropriately. And then with implementation of the People's Transportation Plan, right? So that was the list of projects, which included the municipal program, included expansion of transit, including bus, rail, et cetera, and fare-free transit for the Golden Passport. So it was a much broader plan than I think people realize
Really?
now 20 years later. People remember Metro Rail and the fact that we haven't made a lot of progress on that, but they forget that there were many other components.
Well, and that's one of the things sometimes that bothers me, is that the perception that the People's Transportation Plan has not provided or delivered in some of their promises. But you're absolutely right. Some of the most important aspects of the People's Transportation Plan we have not only followed up on, but maintained. The Golden Passport, for example, which allows citizens, residents over 65 years of age to ride for free in the entire system. The Metro Mover, which carries over 12 million people a year, there is a service for free. We built, joined the big boys club of major cities by building the Orange Line
To the airport.
to the airport, which, it's something that most major cities have some kind of connection. People forget the airport is our largest employment center in all of Dade County. So by connecting, it allows people to use the service and go across Miami-Dade County.
Yeah, I tell you, even New York City, which has obviously the best transit system in the country, I don't believe has a rail connection to LaGuardia, right? So we're beating New York. That's great.
Not only, and again, and other things that we've been able to do, and some of the most, and the county has been able to do is, for a long time, and one of the things that we were worried about was the age of our fleets, both in the Metro Rail fleet, the Metro Mover fleet, which we were able to use, and surtax monies, pardon surtax monies, to renew and get brand new cars, both for the Metro Rail and for the Metro Mover. And now with we are redoing and have redone a lot of the Metro bus system in order to get a eco-friendly Metro buses that not only provides the mobility, but it's also great for our climate. So there's a lot of positive, and there's other things we can talk about the system, our signal system, which was paid for by Metro Rail. We had a list of projects that we promised back in 2002 for public work projects.
Right.
We've
Over 40 roadway projects.
Yes, and we've
advanced traffic signals, like you said, and
and
three-quarters of those have been completed.
have
right?
been completed. So it's again, I sometimes it angers me, if you will, that we don't get that message across.
Right.
Yeah, we could have done better, and anybody, you always second guess and try to do better than you do. But no, there's been a lot of accomplishments.
Right.
And again, and going back the same thing to the cities with the 23% that the municipalities have done. They've done one of the amazing things about the transit, and I'll expand on it later, if you will, is that prior to the pandemic, prior to the COVID-19, municipalities were reporting over 14 million riders a year,
Yeah.
which
Collectively.
is collectively, yes, and now we're up to about, I think, hopefully before the end of the year, 32 of our 33 municipalities that participate in the program will be providing some form of transit service, transit system to their residents of Dade County.
And clearly, the pandemic had an effect on transit throughout the world, right? We weren't alone in that, and so both the municipal systems and the county are struggling to get those numbers back up. But there's a positive trend. Speaking of positive trends, one of the things that the cities have taken the lead on and has been increasing is the on-demand service, right? So I know originally the cities were investing in what we call fixed route circulators. I think most people in Miami will know them as trolleys, right? So all those free trolleys that we see throughout the county, those are paid for with the city's portion of the half penny. But particularly for smaller cities who may not be able to invest in those more expensive, larger programs, I know they started investing in on-demand service, most of them through a vendor called
Absolutely.
Freebie. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that because I know it's one of, you and I have had this discussion many a times, and one of the issues that you're very heartfelt on and are a big supporter of is what it's called first mile, last mile.
Right.
And one of the things that the municipalities have done in many of their programs, and the use of the service on demand is a great example, is the connectivity issue. One of the things that we've been working with Miami-Dade County and the cities is to allow these first mile, last mile so that riders are able to use, if you want to use service on demand, or and though it's not a service on demand issue, but the
So
greatest.
for those who may not know what that is, let's just
Please.
explain it for a second. So when we talk about on-demand service, it's much like an Uber or let's say a Lyft, to not pick out one company,
Yes.
where a rider will simply on an app call for a ride. The ride picks them up where they're at. They don't have to walk to a particular stop, and then takes them to their destination. Leaves them right at the front door. And that's different from a fixed route where it's like a bus. There's a stop or a station. You have to get to it. So on demand is much more flexible and much more convenient for people. So
Well, a lot of the cities, as you mentioned, not only have the fixed routes, but they also have
a combination.
a
Absolutely.
combination of both. And the great thing about the service on demand, and one of the things that I always defend, whether it's service on demand or the smaller cities systems, is that these projects or these system or mode of transportation, if you will, provide a lifeline to a lot of people. Especially the elderly and the infirm can use service on demand. It's not we're not here as a taxi service. The municipalities use it for taking people to a doctor, to be able to connect to, a shopping center, Publix, so they can get their food. So there has not been any abuse or anything of that sort. It really is again, and I use the word lifeline to a lot of people who see this. And again, it's free service. The municipalities don't charge. You have the comfort and the ability to take, whether it's a freebie or Uconnect, I believe is the other.
Go Connect.
Go Connect.
Yeah. Go Connect is the county's
It's the county's.
vendor.
And again, and it provides much needed service and much needed transportation. And now the great thing that are happening is we're getting on these, you call them EUVs or urban electric vehicles.
Yeah, those are the little, I guess they're glorified golf carts,
Golf
right?
carts.
But I'm sure you've seen them around. So
You're right. And now we're getting Teslas, electric cars.
Teslas, they also have vans,
van.
with larger capacity. So, and by the way,
they're
we're going to,
and again, very eco-friendly.
Yes, all electric.
All electric. So
Right.
it really is, I have a tendency, and you and I always joke about, me being the old man in the place and so forth. So I still have a lot of angst, if you will, about the age and so forth. But and you guys, you're younger, see more to the future than I do. But yeah, it really is exciting times in a lot of these, vehicles and a lot of things that are going on. And I'm waiting for the day, quite frankly, when the PTP and the surtax will pay for these new, flying cars.
oh, we're not far
So,
from that, I think,
so-
right? In automated vehicles, it's the Jetson age is coming in.
I was just going to mention the Jetsons. I actually saw a commercial from one of the car makers that was their next project they were talking about. I'm not going to name the automaker, but it's one of the major automakers. And they had a commercial that actually was, we're looking forward to our next project, and they actually had one of these cars. So it's interesting how the future is going to be.
I think the term du jour right now is urban air mobility, if I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken. But-
Yeah, that's basically it. So for people like me who don't like to fly, I'll keep
You'll stick to the trolleys.
I'll stick to the trolleys and the bicycle.
So, and I won't talk about bike ped. I've done that in other shows, and I know that's not your,
No,
your
but,
deal,
again, the bike pads, and if we're talking about municipal projects and programs, they all have some form of municipal bike pads they've created, which are legal, and
it's a legal use of the funds.
of the
sure,
funds,
sure. And we encourage it. Right?
and we encourage it. And a lot of the municipalities you see have built, whether it's Miami Springs, Miami Beach, have all built safety
Right.
lanes,
Protected bike lanes. and
protected
whatnot.
bike lanes for their citizens to use. So there's so many, again, when we started in 2002, which again, relative, it's only 20 years ago. The technology that's now associated with transit has changed
Yeah.
so vastly. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody would have thought of, the electric vehicles. We forget, how different it was maybe even 20 years ago. We were more carried of it to make sure. Now we've got so many different forms of transportation. We don't, whether it's bicycling, whether it's,
The scooters.
the scooters
right? You have
and
the
things.
ride shares. Yeah, we really are in the
rides.
middle of a transportation
Renaissance.
revolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
And renaissance, and I think it bodes well for the future of mobility. So, listen, we only got a few more minutes left, and I can't let you go without talking a little bit more about yourself and your legacy. I've always been one to enjoy working with those, in preceding generations because I learn a lot, and I think we can all learn a lot from those with more experience. And you have a wealth of experience in public administration.
Well,
And really have seen this community grow up before your very eyes. Look behind us, right? When you started the city of Miami with Maurice Ferre, this was the dream.
Yeah.
I think that one building was the one.
the large 30-story
Right.
building was the largest, which
Was it? And-
Warren
and-
Biscayne.
And I know this was Maurice's dream, and here it is come to fruition, and you've lived that. But for those who are in public administration or maybe interested in it, as a public administrator, what would you say are the major lessons that you would impart on folks getting into
Well,
that as a career?
First of all, I want to, any people who are listening, especially younger people, that there is not a more fulfilling job or career than to be in public administration. It's not easy a lot of the times. It's not fun sometimes. But at the end of the day, it is a incredibly rewarding experience. And for me, as I said, 45 years that I've been in government, has been a total rewarding. Learned many things. Had the ability to, as I said, work for some individuals who are, in my opinion, were pillars of this community, like Maurice Ferre and Dewey Knight and and people of that sort. So I've had that ability. I've seen one of the best or the most rewarding experience. I've seen young people, people who have either been, some of them have even been interns in offices that I've worked with, and I've seen how they have grown. A lot of them have become, like you,
Older.
older and wiser, if you will.
Oh, definitely
No,
older.
have
I don't
become
know
have
about the
become
wiser.
greatly successful. One of the things that the history, it tells you how old I am. Is the history is that your father actually went to school with my brother.
Yes.
Many years ago.
Yeah, we
in
learned
Miami.
that early on.
Early on. So
Played baseball together.
played baseball. We won't talk about baseball because I don't want to sound like the angry old man, but or sound like that guy. But no, it has been. I've had opportunities. I have been very fortunate, very lucky to meet a lot of people, both in government and outside of government. Celebrities, had chance to actually meet the Pope on his visit here in '87. So
JP2, right?
JP2, again, it was quite an experience,
Right.
So yes, it's
Became friends with a well-known actor. Who was that?
had a chance and met and dealt with people like Sylvester Stallone when he was down here. Very nice man.
Lived in the Grove, right?
Lived on Brickell.
On Brickell, okay.
In the Grove, if you will. And so it's went through the things like the old Grand Prix of Miami. Had a chance to meet with deal with a lot of people. But you try to reminisce about the past, and again, as I said, 99% of it was a pleasure. And there are always instances where you wish things had turned differently. But no, I have nothing to complain about. I've been very, very fortunate in my in my life and been very, very fortunate in my public life, with whether working in the political side of it, which I had the opportunity to work. The 45 years I've worked, basically about 20 years in public and in the political side, and another 25 in the administrative side. So it's given me a unique.
Do you think the politics have gotten uglier, or have they always been this bad?
I don't want to get into the political. They
You're
used
in
to-
the hot seat.
If you want to put
Just
me
in
that-
general, just in general.
in general,
Because I think people feel like, my God, it's really awful. But if you look back to even the founding of this country, the politics. Were
the politics. Part of it,
Jefferson and Hamilton
Adam
and
and-
everybody fighting it out. Right?
there was and has been, Javier, and you and I have a common interest in history. And what I do find, and I don't want to get morbid and change the tone of the. I just find, and I tell everybody, and this is I'll tell you, when I worked for Maurice, and I've worked for then Mayor and Steve Clark, I used to every once in a while get students who would come in and I would give them a tour of government and give them a little background, and they always ask the same question: what's different now than it was 10 years ago? So in 1990, I would say the same answer that I say now. 20 years ago, a couple of years ago, they came in, and it's the same answer. What I find, and it may be just me, but what I find is the word civility. There was more of a civility. There were people you could work with. A perfect example that always comes to mind is the Ronald Reagan, Tip O'Neill,
The Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the
Yeah,
House,
yeah.
who
Two
were
different parties.
two different parties,
Completely
total-
opposite on policy.
on
Right?
politics, on their thoughts and so forth, but they were able to come together because what they thought was best for this country. I see, and
Yeah, they
again,
drink together after their fights in public, right? And
and that may be what needs to be done
that's
now.
it. So we need to drink together.
We need
more
to
often.
get a lot of more drinking, but no, I
You know what? And it's ironic because we're on social media as we speak, but social media, I'm sure, has played a lot into this.
a lot of it, and the thing is, I grew up where the issue of free speech, and I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend it to my death to make sure you. And we've gone to too much of an extreme. It's a sad statement that in many ways, and this is the way I view it, and again, it's by opinion solely. So it's not, I'll put this is not the opinion of the Javier or the CITT, but I think we need to get more understanding of the positions of other people, of
Sure.
other parties. But getting before I leave, and I know you're short on time, I want to, most of all, congratulate you on the job that you have done.
Oh, gosh.
As we're leaving,
All right, we're out of time here on Mobility Matters.
you have done a magnificent job, and I also want to, if nothing else, commend the members of the CITT Trust. People don't realize, and I've gone and I've worked for 20 years with them. And from the very beginning, with a close friend of ours was the first chairperson, John Cosgrove, the late John Cosgrove, to now with Oscar Brainin. I have found that the sacrifices and the seriousness that they take in their job, it's a volunteer job. They're not getting paid. It's a time-consuming job. It's one that is very important in overseeing, as you mentioned, the surtax expenditures of the surtax, the fiduciary responsibility, not only for the county but for the municipalities. And I can tell you, if you're listening, they should be very proud of the job that they have done. We have people who are transit-dependent people. We have people, individuals on the board that, again, and it's a very wide interest,
Very diverse backgrounds.
very diverse
of members.
backgrounds.
And that's a good segue. We only have a few seconds, Nestor, so
Yeah.
I'm going to have to cut you off. But it is a good segue into inviting those who are watching to please apply. If you're interested in being a member of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, we have several vacancies. We have opportunities in the future, so please visit miamidade.gov/CITT, or I believe there's a QR code floating somewhere on the screen. Just use your phone and snap a picture of that, and that'll take you to our website and apply. You could also apply for a new program that we've developed called the Ambassador Program. So if you're a regular transit rider, we want to know your thoughts. We want your help in disseminating information, so you can become a volunteer CITT ambassador and receive rewards for participating. So that is also available on our website. With that, Nestor, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, not only for being a guest on this show, thank you for that, I know it's not easy, but also for a lifetime of service. You truly leave behind just an amazing legacy, including all this behind you, all the transportation projects that were developed both in the city and in the county over your tenure. And just thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. And as I said, those are the results of that as a public servant looks for. You or participated. You may not have done the project, but little part of you,
of course,
remains for
you're part of the
for
puzzle.
future generations. So,
Absolutely.
and it's what you leave for the future generations that really counts. So
And
again, thank you, and I'll
thank
see
you.
you in another 45 years.
We'll end it there. Thank you again. Please continue to follow us on social media and visit our website.